The desert was endless dot from above. It looked like a golden ocean with no water. Just dry hills of sand, broken rocks, and strange cacti that stood like guards. The sun burned bright in the orange sky, and the wind was hot, dry, and full of dust. Loud humming sound filled the air. The trial ship hovered above the desert floor. Its engines roared as it opened its doors one by one. One by one, the alien cadets jumped out. They landed hard, rolling in the sand, already feeling the heat bite their skin. Each of them had only a small bag with basic supplies, one water flask, a locator chip, a map disk, and a tiny energy bar. No weapons. No tech. Nothing that could give them an advantage. This was the rule of the desert trial, and it was the final test before graduation. Those who passed would become true planetary defenders. Those who failed were never mentioned again. Inside the ship, the last cadet stood ready. He looked out over the vast desert. His name was Jack Carter, the only human in the academy. He took a breath, calm but focused. Unlike the others, he didn't flinch. He knew what was coming. "Last one," said a robotic voice. The floor beneath him opened. He dropped fast through the air, body stiff like a soldier, and landed with a controlled roll. Sand flew around him. The door above slammed shut, and the ship vanished into the clouds. He was alone now. Jack stood up slowly, brushing off the hot sand. He looked around. Nothing but heat waves and dry silence. He opened his small supply bag, checked the items, and nodded to himself. Then he smiled. This is just Earth's Arizona. Hotter, maybe, but not impossible. Cut to 300 meters away. A group of 3 alien cadets huddled behind a sand dune. They were from the reptilian race, blue scales shining with sweat. "Cracks! It's too hot," one groaned. "I can't feel my feet," said another. Cracks, the tallest of the group, growled. "Shut up. This is a survival test. We just need to find water and shade." "But where?" I said. "Shut up." Cracks snapped. "We find shelter or we die. That's the rule." They moved forward, eyes squinting against the sun. None of them noticed Jack quietly moving up a dune on the other side. He was already scouting the land, studying cactus shadows and distant hills. Back to Jack. He knelt near a strange cactus, shaped like a fan with sharp spikes. He pulled a small knife from his boot. It was made from bone, a personal tool he made long ago during Earth training. Technically, it wasn't a weapon by Academy rules. It was survival gear. He carefully cut into the cactus. Thick green gel dripped out. Jack tasted a drop. It was bitter but safe. He drank slowly, then used some of the dried cactus skin to cover his head from the sun. Shade and water, 2 problems. Already solved. Then he spotted bones, lots of them half buried near a rock formation. "Bones?" he muttered. "Something hunts here." He picked one up. Long, sharp. Could be useful. He tied it with cactus rope to make a spear. Another bone became a digging tool. He wasn't just surviving. He was building elsewhere. The reptilian cadets were suffering. Cracks collapsed near a rock pile. His scales looked dull. No food, no water. This place is cursed. One cadet tried to lick dew from a black rock, but it burned his tongue. Suddenly, a loud growl echoed from behind the rocks. Huge shadow appeared. Something big, something fast. "Run!" Cracks shouted. The 3 cadets ran blindly into the desert, dropping their bags in panic. But the beast didn't follow. It just stood there tall, muscular, covered in sand-colored fur, with long claws and red eyes. It sniffed the air and turned. Not toward the cadets, but toward Jack. Jack heard it before he saw it. A low, rumbling growl. Dry footsteps in the sand. He looked up and saw it standing on the dune. The Desert Alpha. He didn't run. He crouched slowly, lowering his profile, and stared back. The beast sniffed again. then slowly walked away. Not afraid, not curious, just watching. Jack waited until it vanished. Then he whispered, "You're not hunting the weak. You're watching the strong." He got back to work. Using bones, cactus, and ropey plants, he built a simple shelter under the rocks. Not perfect, but enough to block the sun. Inside, he buried his flask to keep it cool and rested in the shade. That night, the desert turned cold. Wind howled like a ghost. The cadets who had no shelter were freezing. Their scales shook. One alien even tried to bury himself in sand. But Jack was wrapped in cactus fiber and bone blankets. His shelter held strong. He even boiled cactus gel over a small fire made with heat stones and bone friction. He sipped it and looked at the stars. This test is not about strength. It's about thinking. He marked the time with a bone dial he built. First night survived. Only 6 more to go. The second day in the desert began with silence. No birds. No clouds. Just the rising sun and waves of heat already building in the air. Jack opened his eyes inside the small shelter he made from rocks, cactus pieces, and dried bones. His body was sore but rested. He had survived the cold desert night, while others likely froze under the stars. He stepped outside, scanned the horizon, and squint. Big tracks. The beast had come close while he slept. Jack crouched down and touched the prints in the sand clod. Deep, wide. Whatever the beast was, it was heavy. Smart, too. It didn't attack the weak right away. It was watching, testing. "I need to be ready," Jack said quietly. He wasn't afraid. He had seen worse during survival drills back on Earth, but this wasn't a drill anymore. This was real. And the others? They weren't doing well. 500 meters away, 3 alien cadets were trying to walk. They looked exhausted. One had no shoes. Another limped, sunburned, and weak. "Cracks, we should call for pickup," one said. "No," Crex barked. "That means failure. I will not return in shame. But if we stay out here, we die." "We don't die. We find that human. He has shelter. He has water. We saw him near the ridge yesterday. You want to follow him?" Crex nodded. "Yes, he's the only one who's thinking." Meanwhile, Jack had a plan. He spent the morning collecting bones, dry roots, sharp cactus needles, and plant ropes. The sun was brutal, but he wrapped his arms in cactus skin to protect from burns. Every movement was slow, careful. He found a narrow path between 2 tall rocks. It was a perfect choke point. If the beast came this way, it would have to pass through. He began setting traps. First, a spiked pit hidden under a thin layer of sand. He used cactus needles tied to bones, angled upward. If the beast stepped there, it would be hurt. Next, he tied cactus needles to a swinging branch held by tension vine. A tripwire nearby would release it. It wasn't deadly, but it would surprise and sting. And finally, Jack set noise alarms bones, dangling on plant rope. If they clattered, he would know something was close. When he was done, he wiped sweat from his eyes and returned to his shelter. Night came fast. The stars filled the sky like cold diamonds. Jack didn't sleep. He watched, listened. Then the bones rattled. He held his breath. The beast was back. That had stepped closer, silent at first. Then came a thud, deep, heavy. It was trying to sneak in. The pit trap was waiting. Crack. A loud growl exploded through the desert night. The trap worked, but it wasn't enough. The beast roared, furious. It had stepped in the bone pit, but only 1 foot. It jumped back, limping slightly. Jack grabbed a burning stick from the fire and held it up. "Come on, you desert freak," he whispered. The beast charged. Straight at him. But just before it reached the rocks, it hit the tripwire. Snap. The cactus needle swing trap slammed into its chest. It howled and twisted in pain, crashing into the side of the canyon wall. Jack didn't wait. He ran not away, but toward the beast. He grabbed his bone spear and stabbed the side of its leg deep. The beast growled and swiped, but missed. Jack jumped back and yelled, "You're not the top of this desert." "I am." The beast hesitated. Blood dripped from its shoulder and leg. It looked at Jack, then turned and fled into the night. The desert was silent again. Jack stood, breathing hard. Alive. Still human. Still standing. At sunrise, the alien cadets had followed the trail. They reached Jack's shelter just as he was. Fixing his traps. Krex stepped forward. "We saw what happened. The traps. The fire. You heard it." Jack didn't look up. "You followed me?" Krex nodded. "We want to join you. Alone, we die. Together, we have a chance." Jack studied them. Sunburned, weak, but still standing. "You're not enemies," he said, "but don't slow me down." The others nodded. "We'll help," one said. "We can dig. We can watch at night." Jack tossed them pieces of cactus to chew, then start by learning. The desert isn't your enemy. Your mind is. Use it. That night, they worked together. Jack showed them how to collect water from inside rocks, how to use cactus needles as fishing hooks. Yes, there were desert lizards hiding near underground pools. He showed them how to make a signal fire from dried roots and how to spot beast trails. They weren't just surviving now. They were preparing. But the beast was not gone. It limped across the dunes, licking its wounds. Angry. Hungry. It had never been hurt before. And it remembered the human's face. The desert wind blew hard. The next morning. Dust covered the camp. Bones rattled. The heat returned, but the air felt heavier. Something was coming. Jack woke first, as always. He checked the traps, repaired the shelter, and sharpened his bone tools. His hands moved with calm speed, efficient, quiet, focused. The alien cadets followed him now. They didn't question. They watched and learned. Krex, once proud and stubborn, now asked, "What are we doing today?" Jack didn't look back. "We're changing the game. We're not just surviving anymore. We're going to hunt the hunter." Krex blinked. "You mean the beast?" Jack nodded. "Yes, it comes every night. It's watching us, testing us. It's smart. We have to be smarter." The other cadets gathered close. "How?" One asked. Jack knelt in the sand and drew a map with a stick. "We build layered traps, not just to scare it, but to stop it. We need bait, we need patience, and we need teamwork." He looked at Krex. "You're strong. You'll set the rock fall net." Then to the smallest cadet. "You're fast. You'll carry the scent bait." Then to the third. "You'll dig the hiding pit. When it steps in, we close it." "And you?" Krex asked. Jack smiled. "I'll wait for it in the final kill zone, alone." They worked all day. They built 3 trap zones, spread across a curved path between rock hills. Zone 1, a fake shelter made of dry bones and cactus skin. Inside it, they placed a strong scent meat left by dead desert lizards, soaked in cactus gel to carry the smell far. Zone 2, a digging pit with sharpened cactus stakes at the bottom, hidden under desert cloth and sand. Zone 3, a rock ledge above a narrow canyon pass. Krex set a heavy boulder above the path, tied with plant rope. It would fall if pulled. At the final point, Jack prepared the ambush. He sharpened 2 long bone spears and set up a circle of cactus spikes around a dry, flat area. He also made smoked dust-crushed desert seeds that sting eyes and confuse predators. He would lure the beast here. He would end it here. That night, they lit a small fire to draw attention. The fake shelter glowed in the darkness. They waited. Silence. Then bones rattled. The scent had worked. The beast was coming. Jack crouched, Hidden in the rocks above Zone 3, the cadets had already moved into place. Crex hid near the rope. The smallest cadet crouched under a cactus. The third hid in the pit's cover net, ready to seal it. The beast moved fast but carefully. It didn't fall for the first trap. It sniffed the shelter, then growled. With one swipe, it tore it apart. Jack whispered, smarter than last time. The beast moved again, toward Zone 2. This time, it stepped wrong. Crack. It fell into the cactus pit halfway. Its leg sank in, and it roared in pain. But the beast was strong. It kicked and crawled out, bleeding from the leg. The cadets flinched. Jack stayed calm. Don't move, let it come. The beast limped toward Zone 3. It passed under the rock ledge. Jack gave a sharp whistle. Cracks. Yanked the rope. The heavy boulder dropped hard. Thud. A direct hit. Dust and blood filled the air. The beast didn't die, but it stumbled, weak now. It howled, confused and angry. Jack shouted from below. Come on, you want me? Here I am. The beast saw him alone, waiting. It charged. Jack lit. The smoke dust, a thick white cloud, burst up. The beast ran right into the cactus circle. Spikes tore into its skin. It swung blindly. Jack dodged left, then right, then stabbed deep with a spear. The beast howled again. The cadets came running, yelling, throwing rocks and bones. They joined the fight. One hit its eye with a cactus spear. Another struck its injured leg. The beast stumbled again. Then finally, it fell. Hard. Dead silence. Just wind. And victory. Jack stood over the body, bleeding, tired, but alive. Crex walked to him. You killed it. No, Jack said. We did. The cadets stared at the body, then at Jack. How did you learn this? One asked. Jack smiled. Earth. We've been fighting nature since we learned to walk. He looked at the stars. This trial was never about strength or speed. It was about who adapts. Next morning, the desert looked different. The beast was gone. The fear was gone. The cadets walked tall now, proud. They weren't just survivors. They were thinkers. They were hunters. And Jack? He'd built a flag. Using cactus skin and bone, he planted it on top of the hill. A symbol. Not of victory, but of human. Thinking, the sun rose over the desert once more. But this time, the sky was strange. It wasn't clear and blue like before. It was dark, too dark. Heavy gray clouds stretched far across the sky. The air was thick and tense, like something was holding its breath. Jack stood on a rock, watching the horizon. The cadets were resting below, proud after defeating the beast. Their wounds were healing, and they had begun to laugh again. But Jack's face showed no smile. Crex noticed. What is it now? Jack didn't answer immediately. Then he pointed. Storm's coming. Crex looked. I see no wind. You will, Jack said. This isn't just any storm. It's a desert vortex. I've seen one back on Earth. When it comes, it doesn't. Knock, it breaks everything. The cadets looked uneasy. What do we do? Jack stepped down and grabbed his digging tools. We go under. The sand vortex by mid-afternoon. The wind began. It started with light gusts. Then came dry howls. The sand shifted in strange patterns, small spirals rising in the air. Jack worked fast, leading the cadets to a shallow rock basin surrounded by thick cacti. This is the best spot. Low ground, tight walls, some cover from the wind. He pointed to the ground. We dig here. Deep. Fast. Use bones, claws, anything. They began digging, fast and focused. Jack showed them how to make a desert bunker. It wasn't just a hole, it had layers. Top layer, cactus paths to stop direct wind. Middle layer, rocks and bones to hold structure. Bottom layer, soft sand for insulation. They worked like machines. The wind roared louder. Dust clouds moved across the sky like giant ghosts. Then dash thunder. Yes, real thunder in the desert. But no rain came. Only wind. And sand. Lots of it. Inside the shelter. By the time the sand vortex reached them, the shelter was ready. They squeezed inside, lying shoulder to shoulder. Jack sealed the entrance with cactus sheets and bone weights. Then darkness. Complete. The wind screamed above them. It sounded like a monster trying to tear the world apart. The ground shook. Sand poured over the top of the shelter, but the structure held strong. For hours, they waited. No one spoke. They just listened. Waited. Breath. KREX whispered in the dark. You built this in half a day. Jack replied quietly. On Earth, our ancestors used to build wind shelters in minutes. Against tornadoes, snowstorms, and worse. We learned to work with nature. Not fight it. Another cadet asked, You're not scared? Jack said, Fear helps, but only when you control it. Hours later, silence. The storm passed. Jack pushed the cover up. Bright sunlight poured in. The desert was almost unrecognizable. Their old shelter was buried. The sand was smooth, fresh waves everywhere. Nothing left of their traps, tools, or bones. But they were alive. They had made it through. Above, a small silver drone buzzed in the air. It was the Academy's surveillance drone, watching, recording, tracking progress. The cadets saw it and grinned. They saw everything, Crex said proudly. Jack looked at the camera and gave a small salute. Let them see. Let them know. This was how humans survived. New challenges. The storm had also brought change. From the high dune, Jack saw something new, a dry canyon far in the distance. It hadn't been visible before. And down there, something shiny. Metal? Shelter? Or a new threat? We go there next, Jack said. Crex frowned. What if it's dangerous? Jack replied. It probably is. He grinned. That's why we go. Night fell. They rested under a new rock ledge. Jack had taught them how to find safe zones by reading sand patterns. They now knew how to tell if wind came from the east or west. They understood where animals made nests. They even started copying Jack's cactus wrap armor. They were becoming something more. Not just cadets. Not just survivors, but thinkers, builders. Almost human in spirit. Meanwhile, far away, deep in the desert, something else moved. Not a beast. Not a storm. A machine, half buried under the sand. Blinking red lights came to life. Something ancient. Something dangerous. The vortex had uncovered it. And Jack was walking straight toward it. The desert was quiet again, but not peaceful. Jack led the way across the fresh dunes, his eyes fixed on the silver glint far ahead. The sand crunched under their feet as the cadets followed, tired but focused. The storm had changed everything, not just the land, but the rules. Now, they were moving into unknown ground. What do you think it is? Crex asked, wiping sand from his scaled face. Jack squinted. Metal doesn't grow in sand. It's not natural. That means something left it behind. Is it dangerous? The smallest cadet asked. Jack replied, We'll find out. After 2 hours of walking, they reached the edge of the dry canyon. It had deep cracks in the ground and sides shaped by time and wind. The shiny object was half buried under loose sand near a rock shelf. Jack signaled the others to stop. He crouched low and moved forward alone. The object was large, about the size of a hover tank. Its surface was scratched and burnt. There were strange markings carved into the metal symbols no one could read, but Jack didn't need to read them. He understood the design. It's a weapon, he muttered. Krex stepped closer. What kind of weapon? Jack brushed off more sand. He uncovered a tube, some cracked panels, and a small blue crystal inside a broken socket. It's alien, old, but it's not dead. The core is still glowing. He looked up at the others. This thing was buried here a long time ago. Maybe during a war. Maybe even as part of a test. Crex tilted his head. A test? Jack nodded. Think about it. This desert isn't just survival. It's a lesson. First, it gave us no tools. Then it gave us a beast. Then a storm. And now, this. The machine stirred. A low hum came from inside. The blue crystal pulsed slowly. Jack stepped back. Get ready, he said. It's waking up. The cadets raised bone spears and cactus. Shield's instinct now, not panic. A panel opened with a hiss. A long, thin barrel extended from the machine's side. It scanned the area with a red light. Then a voice spoke from deep inside. Low and cold. Target threat level, moderate. Survival candidates detected. Begin combat simulation. It fired. A warning blast just above their heads. The energy beam melted part of the canyon wall. Run! Jack shouted. They jumped behind rocks. Another blast followed, this one closer. The machine wasn't trying to kill yet, but it was testing. Watching how they moved, how they reacted. It's a training drone. Jack shouted. From some ancient alien academy. That crystal is its mind. It thinks we're part of its final exam, Crex growled. Then let's pass it. Jack's plan, they couldn't outrun it in open desert. They had to shut it down. Jack gave quick orders. Crex, get its attention. Don't get hit, just distract it. On it. Tiny one climbed that rock shelf and drop a bone spear from above. You got it. Third cadet dig a trap right here. We'll bait it to fall. And you? Crex shouted. Jack pulled out a broken panel piece from the sand, sharp, heavy, metal. I'm going inside. The cadets moved. Crex ran to the left, yelling and throwing stones. The machine turned and followed with a slow-moving barrel. The small cadet climbed fast, cactus boots gripping the rocks. He waited above with a spear ready. The third cadet dug fast, scraping sand until the pit was wide enough for the drone to drop into. Jack ran low and fast. The machine fired again, too slow. He reached its side. Saw the panel he had opened earlier. He jumped on top. Tore at wires. Found the crystal core. Blue light pulsed faster. The machine buzzed. Unauthorized access. Warning shut down in 10. Jack yanked the wires free. 9. He stabbed the crystal base with the sharp metal panel. 8. System damaged. The machine shook. Crex shouted, "It's turning." The small cadet dropped the spear. Clang. It hit the sensor node, cracking it. The drone fired upward wild, missing everyone. The third cadet pushed sand over the pit, ready to trap it. Jack jumped clear. Now, he shouted. The cadets pushed the drone toward the trap. One last shove. The heavy machine slid and fell, right into the pit. Sparks flew. The drone's core flickered, then dimmed. Silence. Then a voice. Simulation complete. Candidates passed. The machine shut down. Aftermath, they pulled the crystal out and held it in the sun. It was cracked, but still pulsing slightly. Jack turned it in his hand. Proof. We were meant to find this. Crex looked around. So this wasn't just a test of the desert. It was a test of thinking, fighting, leading. Jack nodded. Every challenge out here has one purpose. Show what kind of warrior you are. Not muscle, not pride, but your mind. The smallest cadet said softly, "We wouldn't have made it without you." Jack smiled. "No, you made it because you chose to learn." He held up the crystal. "Let's keep moving. If this was buried, here, there may be more." The desert sun was starting to set. Long shadows stretched across the sand, and the heat slowly faded. The cadets moved carefully now, watching the sky, the dunes, and each other. The broken alien weapon they had defeated lay behind them, half buried again. Jack still held its cracked power crystal dot. It was warm in his hand. Not just with heat, but energy. Something about it felt unfinished. As the group rested under a rock ledge, Jack turned the crystal over and noticed something odd, tiny symbols glowing on its edge. They hadn't been there before. Look, he said, showing the others. Krex leaned in. What does it mean? Jack squinted. The symbols were not from any known alien language, but they formed a shape like a map. A spiral leading to a point. Jack drew it in the sand. It's not a warning, it's a direction. That night Jack couldn't sleep. He lay awake under the stars, thinking about everything: the beast, the traps, the drone weapon, the strange pattern on the crystal dot. Then he heard a faint beep. He sat up quickly. The crystal glowed blue again, but this time it sent out a signal. From deep inside, a soft tone repeated every few seconds. Jack held it high and watched as a small, faint blue light shot into the sky straight up, like a beacon. What did you do? Krex asked, waking up. Nothing, Jack said. It activated on its own. The signal vanished after a few seconds. Then silence. They waited. Nothing. Then a sound from the sky. A hum. Very soft. Very far, but not natural. Jack stood slowly. Something saw the signal. By morning they followed the crystal's map heading toward the spiral center. The land changed again. The sand became thinner, and the rocks turned black and smooth. Strange, twisted trees stood here and there, dry and brittle, but tall. They reached a hill made of sharp glass stones. At the top, they found it. A wide metal circle, half buried in the ground. It wasn't a building. It was a hatch. Jack ran his fingers along its edge. This is a door. To what? A cadet whispered. Jack looked up at the sky. I don't know, but this wasn't meant for cadets. Krex stepped back. You think this whole trial was fake? Not fake, Jack said. Just bigger than we were told. The hatch opens as soon as the crystal came close. The hatch clicked, a soft hiss. Then it slowly slid open, revealing stairs leading down. Not natural. Not ancient. Clean, smooth, lit by white-blue lights. The cadets looked nervous. Jack didn't wait. He stepped inside. The hidden facility below the desert. A secret lab waited. The hallway was narrow, lined with screens and tubes. The walls had symbols matching the ones on the crystal. Everything hummed softly. They passed empty pods, old control panels, and storage racks filled with tools too advanced for any cadet training mission. Jack stopped at a large screen that blinked. On as they approached, a voice spoke, not cold like the drones, but clear and smooth. Welcome, candidate. Human presence detected. Initiating Phase 2. Krex flinched. Phase 2? The screen showed a new map. This one of the entire desert. Dots appeared where major events, the beast hunting zone, the storm center, the drum weapon, and now the hatch. Everything we faced was placed, Jack said. Controlled. Monitored. Another voice spoke from a different panel. This is not a cadet test. This is a final evaluation for Universal Survival Command. The presence of a human candidate has triggered advanced protocols. The cadets stood frozen. You're saying Jack wasn't here to train? One asked. Jack looked at his reflection in the screen. I was being tested for something else. The truth unfolds. The system continued. Most alien races failed desert logic trials. Their minds rely on strength, speed, or technology. Only adaptable species with creative survival thinking may pass the command-level status. One such species is human. Krex stepped forward. Then what are we? Just background. Players? The system replied. You were part of the variable field. You helped shape the human candidate's choices. You were obstacles. And eyes. This increases test accuracy. Silence filled the room. Jack lowered the crystal. He finally understood. This wasn't a school test. This was a selection process, and he had passed. Something much bigger than he imagined. Outside, a shadow appeared far above the desert. A large triangular ship slowly uncloaked in the sky. Silent, smooth, not from the Academy. It had come in response to the beacon. The ground began to shake softly. Crack stared at the sky. Who are they? Jack stared too, eyes narrowed. Whoever built this place. The sky was no longer quiet. Above the desert, a massive triangular ship floated silently. Its smooth black surface shimmered with light, as if space itself bent. Around it, no engines roared. No weapons fired. It simply hovered. Watching. Jack stood at the edge of the hidden facility's hatch. Eyes fixed on the ship. Behind him, the cadets were quiet. Even Crex, proud and strong, had no words. They all knew this was not part of the Academy's final exam. Jack turned to the glowing console beside the door. The alien voice returned. Command ship acknowledged candidate signal. Awaiting final interaction. Jack whispered, "Interaction?" Suddenly, a beam of light shot from the ship and bathed him in soft energy. The others stepped back. Jack didn't move. The light scanned him, slow and smooth, then vanished. A new voice echoed, this one warmer and older. Human designation. Jack Carter. Evaluation complete. Mind adaptive. Heart resilient. Leadership proven. You are now eligible for command-level knowledge, Crex growled. What about us? We helped him. We fought. We survived. The voice replied calmly. You were never excluded. Your choices were recorded. You followed. You learned. You may ascend, but he led. Jack turned to his team. I didn't ask for this, but I won't leave without answers. He looked at Crex. You said once that strength is everything. But out here, we learned that thinking is survival. Teamwork is power. Crex nodded slowly. And you taught us both. The ship above began to lower. Dust flew into the air as the ground vibrated. A ramp extended silently from the bottom of the craft. Jack looked at his cadets. You coming? They all stepped forward. Together. Inside the ship, the ramp led into a bright white chamber. No visible machines. Just energy fields and smooth walls. As they entered, a holographic being appeared. It had no clear face. Just light and form. It spoke. In all their minds. We are the Watchers. We monitor species across galaxies. Your academy is one of many. But only a few cadets across time complete the deep trial. You are among them. Jack stepped forward. Why humans? The Watcher replied, humans are not the strongest, not the fastest, but your minds evolve under pressure. You adapt. You think differently. You use what others ignore. In war or peace, this is power. The hologram showed visions of other planets, jungles, ice worlds, storm-filled skies, and in each, a lone figure like Jack, building, surviving, leading. You were not trained to be a soldier. You were trained to be a seed, a spark for new civilizations. The Alpha platform rose from the floor. A sphere floated above it, glowing softly. This is a command seed, the Watcher said. A device that allows the holder to guide a new world, build a new way of survival. Few are ever given. Jack stared at it. It's not a weapon? The voice replied, no. It's knowledge, tools, history, strategy. You decide what to do with it. The desert showed us who you are. Now you must decide who you will be. Jack looked at the cadets behind him. They nodded slowly. You won't be alone, said Crex. Jack stepped forward and touched the sphere. It floated into his hand, shrinking into a glowing band around his wrist. Outside the ship as they exited, The desert wind picked up Dot, but it no longer felt empty. The sky shimmered. The sand sparkled. Something had changed. Jack turned to Crex. "The test is over." "No," Crex said. "It's just beginning." Back at the academy weeks later, a small dropship landed at the training base. Officers rushed to greet them, but stopped when they saw the change. The cadets were no longer unsure. They moved with confidence, unity, and purpose. Jack stood at the front. The command band on his wrist glowed softly. A senior officer stepped forward. "Jack Carter, you disappeared during the trial. We expected failure." Jack replied, "I didn't fail. One graduated early." He handed the broken crystal core and a data disk from the Watchers. "Your desert wasn't just a test. It was a doorway, and we stepped through." Final scene later that night. Jack sat on a hill overlooking the stars. The wind blew softly. Crex joined him, carrying cactus tea. "Think they'll believe your story?" Crex asked. Jack smiled. "They won't. Have to. The future is already watching." Above them, the stars shifted slightly, and far beyond, the Watchers waited.